Today is April 22nd, 2017, and I'm going to install a rear sway bar and adjustable rear control arms. I got the wheels off, so the steps are to loosen these two 13mm bolts that hold the shock in. You can loosen this, and then there's two bolts right there, and then there's four holding the subframe. You're supposed to loosen or remove two and then loosen the other ones, and I believe you're supposed to do the same thing on the other side, and then you're able to pull this out. Right now I have the stock sway bar going through, so originally it was right here, and I loosened those two bolts that hold the subframe in place. I loosened those, and then I loosened these. I actually didn't take out the 18mm because it's pretty hard to get back on. So what I did was, once all those were loose, I pushed this down, and I was able to move that aside in order to get enough clearance to get the sway bar over. And then on the other side, I have the two subframe bolts loose enough where I could move the subframe low enough to slide the stock sway bar through, and that's how I got it there. Right now it's hitting that subframe bracket, so I think I'm able to loop this around, but the shock is in the way. I only have one pair of hands and I can't hold the phone at the same time. I'm gonna push this down to give enough clearance in order to slide this out. Just slide right out. Just comparing the two, you can see how much thicker the new one is. So this is the Mini Cooper S R56, and the thickness should be 17mm. I'll check that, and it's about 17mm because that's 20 right there. And this should be 25, and it's about 25, but because it's hollow, it's effectively, we're supposed to be around 23, or equivalent to 23mm. I have these bushings that I need to grease, and then I'm going to put it back in. Because I don't have my tripod with me, I'm just going to do it without recording it. Now I have everything tightened, and I set it at the softest setting. I'm going to drive it around and see how it feels, and then if I feel like I don't feel any difference, then I'll tighten it up. Right now I'm going to take this old control arm out, and then at least the lower one, and then put in the new adjustable ones. The old control arm is out. I'm gonna set it somewhat close to the previous settings, but a little bit shorter because I had too much negative camber. So I'm gonna do that, and then let me just show you the setup. I have a floor jack holding the hub right there. This used to be right here, and back there towards the gas tank I used an 18mm socket, and then I used an adjustable wrench because I didn't have another 18mm, but I pretty much had this here with 18mm on the other side. I loosened it, and once I had it loosened, I just unscrewed it and torqued it out. This was a 16mm, and this is a 24mm 12 point, so you hold that in place and then you use the 16mm to loosen it. Because my settings are changing, it doesn't really make too much sense to mark the location, the previous location of this adjustment, but I did it anyway. Once this was out, I used this pry bar, put it right here, and this came off. That is pretty much everything, and then I'm going to put the new one back on and I'll have it professionally aligned. As I'm turning this, these are getting further apart. Right now, it matches exactly. I put a bolt inside, falls in, it falls in. So I was actually at negative, I think 2.6, and the spec range was negative 1.4 to negative 2.1. So I'm just gonna tighten it a little. You guys couldn't see it, but I did tighten it. This is no longer aligned, and I'm just gonna tighten these. I'm gonna get some wrenches to make sure these are tight. I have the new rear lower control arm in, and now I'm gonna tighten up these bolts. Once the ends are tightened, then you'll use a wrench to tighten the middle red knobs. So I was able to use just a single one to tighten it. Sometimes you might have to use two in order to hold this in place and to tighten that one as well. I got both of them on. Now I'm going to put the wheels back on and lower the car.